So now we're going to talk a little bit about the activity we're going to spend most of our time on, about direct and cross-examination. Now, do you remember last week we started watching that video, and we had the prosecutor asking some questions, and we had the defense attorney asking some questions? Remember, what was it about? Remind me, it was some woman on the stand.
I think Commonwealth has an idea. Commonwealth's got an idea.
It was about a guy who made a 911 call about his life.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was about.
Yeah.
And who's the witness testifying?
The lady who answered the call.
Yeah, the 911 operator, exactly. All right, so do you remember that the prosecutor was asking all of these open-ended questions, right? What did you do then? What did he say? Remember that? And then, do you remember that the defense attorney, he was asking all these questions like,
Yes or no question.
yeah, that's exactly right. Like, did she sound hysterical? Or she sounded hysterical, didn't she? That's what he was asking. All right, so those are the things we're going to practice today, the direct questions and the cross-examination questions. So direct exam questions are going to be our open-ended questions. And last week you told me they had to do with the 5 W's and sometimes H. Who remembers what those were?
Wait, what?
Remember we talked about how the direct questions were going to be the open-ended ones. They begin with our 5 W's. Who,
What, when, where, why.
what, and sometimes how. Exactly. So the 5 W's are going to guide your direct exam. And we want those questions to be open, right? Open-ended, so that the witness gets to tell us their side of the story. We want to see what happened through the witness's eyes. And the only way you're going to do that is if we hear it out of their mouths. If you ask her only yes or no questions, it's going to be you telling this story. And that's less credible to the jury. When it comes to cross-examination, this witness is adverse to you. So they're not your friend. You don't know what's going to come out of their mouth because you haven't had the chance to talk with them before. So you keep your questions a lot more limited. You end them with yes or no, right? So you're going to see there's going to be a bunch of ways you can do it. Isn't it true? You could begin your sentence because the only way they can answer is yes or no. You could end your sentence with anything, start with any sentence, and then end with correct. And then they're left to say whether you are right or not. So the key is to keep them more constrained so you have control of the witness on cross-examination, okay?
So when it is your witness, okay, so we know that we've already had some witness testimony and we went over them. When it's your witness, you're going to want to ask them direct examination questions. Those are open-ended. And when it is not your witness, you are going to try to just ask them very narrow questions, okay? And that's when we ask open-ended, that's what we call direct examination, all right? And when we talk about close-ended, the yes or no questions, those are used for cross-examination. That's just the way lawyers talk, okay? Are we ready to play?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to see if you can identify an open-ended question that we would use on direct versus a what we call a leading question. I'm leading you to your answer, yes or no, okay? So here we go. Mr. Siri, I'm sorry, you're going to get a flash. All right. So here's the game. You be the judge. You have to tell us 2 things about every statement. First, is that a leading question? So I'm asking you, is that a question where you're suggesting the answer to someone, okay? And then a follow-up question, would you use this question for direct examination or for cross-examination, okay? Can everybody see?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
All right, so first question. What did you do then, Mrs. Thomas? Is this leading?
No.
Okay, it's not leading, right? Because she cannot answer it with a yes or a no. So you haven't led her to the answer. When would we want to use this type of question? On direct or on cross? Who thinks we should use this question on direct? Raise your hands. All right, I'm seeing a lot from Commonwealth. What about you guys?
All right,
take your time. So remember, we're trying to ask open-ended questions on direct examination. What do we think, defense? They think it's direct. You guys think it's direct. You are correct. It is a direct question, okay? So it's open-ended. Mrs. Thomas would have to go into a pretty long sentence about what happened next, right? She couldn't just say a one-word answer. All right, let's go to the next one. That night, you told the police you couldn't see the woman who robbed you, didn't you? Is this leading?
Yes. Yes.
It is leading, right? So she really has this very narrow question to answer, and she's either going to have to answer it with, yes, that's what I told the police. No, that's not what I told the police. All right. Is it the type of question that you would want to ask on direct or on cross? Everyone, Hands up for cross. Okay, everyone is in agreement. Me too. It is a question that is proper for cross-examination because he's asking that question because the witness is not friendly to him. So he wants to leave as little to chance as possible. He's going to ask her a yes or a no question only. You are actually standing on the corner of Main Street. Yes? Is this leading or not leading?
Leading.
Okay, this is leading. So when should I use this type of question?
Cross.
On cross-examination. Great. All right. Why did you go to the market that day? Leading or not leading?
Not leading.
Not leading. Okay. On direct or on cross? Direct. This is a good question to ask on direct. Amy, when did you leave the party? Is that leading? No, it is not leading. When should we use that type of question?
Direct.
On direct examination. Great. You saw the red car speed through the stop sign.
Leading.
It is leading. Very good. All right. On direct examination or on cross examination?
Cross. 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 It's cross. Cross.
Are we? It sounds like everyone is on board with cross. That's right. So this, remember, he is suggesting the answer to her. Even though he's not saying correct or isn't it true, she can only really answer the question with yes or no. And so that is a leading question, and leading questions should be used on cross. Okay? All right. So you might be asking yourselves, why do we care whether it is a leading question or not, or when we are asking it, right? Because the whole point is to put all this information in front of the jury. So who cares? All right, this is the answer. Do you remember in last week's video? Yeah. One of the lawyers was talking, and the other one interrupted. What did he say? Objection. He said objection. Right. So this is important because the form of the question matters. If you are on direct examination and you ask a leading question, it is the job of the other team to object. Okay? So you need to get up in front of the judge and say, objection. And she's going to say, what's the problem? You say, form of the question. It is leading. Okay? And when you are on cross and you ask an open-ended question, the other team, they have to object. And they say, judge, improper form of a question on cross.
What if they don't notice it?
Well, if you don't notice, then it goes right through. It's up to you guys to object to each other's questions when they are not proper. And that's why it's important to know what type of question goes on direct and which type of question goes on cross. So we'll talk more about that later.
But now you get to practice your skills. So we put up the basics of direct and cross up there. All right? The Commonwealth is going to do direct questions. The defense is going to do cross-examination questions. And your goal is to find out what your snack is, because only then you get to eat it. Okay? Only then you get to go on break and eat it.
Yes.
Yeah. I know this week no gimmicks. This week you got to work for it.
Right.
So,
And the one question you cannot ask is, what is it?
yeah, you can ask what is it. That's very clever, but you can't do it. You gotta ask the questions. You can't ask that. That's
No.
no. That's too easy. Here's the point. When a jury walks in, they don't know anything about your case.
So they will know nothing about Todd.
It lives in a box, okay? And your goal is through your questions that you'll be asking the witnesses to show them what's in the box. Let them see what's inside, and so that they can learn about what's going on in Todd's life. So you need to find out what you're having for snack. And the only way you're going to do that is if you ask us, your witnesses, questions about what's in there. But think about this. If you had a jury and you wanted to know what happened, right, you wouldn't just come out and it wouldn't be one question. You wouldn't go, what happened? You would want to build it up, right? Where are you from? Tell us about you. How long have you been on the police department? Or where do you go to school? What were you doing that day? You want them to get it. You don't just want to give them one question and then sit down. It's too fast. Maybe someone wasn't paying attention. Maybe someone was sleeping. You want to, get into it. That's what you want to do today. Find out what's in the box, all right? Todd is not in the box.
Yeah, that's right. That's
but that
the
was
secret.
that was a good leading question. You suggested the answer to me. So no, that's right. All right. So Commonwealth, ask and you're also going to notice something about the type of information you're able to get from open-ended questions and leading questions. All right. So Commonwealth, ask us an open-ended question.
And if you ask us a question in the wrong form, We will not answer it.
Wait,
Can we say objection? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
remember, they have to stick to that, and you guys have to stick to that.
So they always have to say what, when, where, why, and how?
That's the type of questions they have to
some form.
ask, and you guys have to stick with something like this. So wherever there's the ... you have to
This is
answer
going to
your
apply
question.
to Todd's case just
Got
the
it.
same. Yep. These are just questions. Yep. So your goal is to find out what's in the box with cross. All right. They're going first.
All right,
Open-ended
Commonwealth is
question.
thinking about what their first question is going to be.
Who's answering this one? Answering, isn't it? Asking?
It's asking. It's asking.
Do you need to do the opening ritual?
No,
No.
you can just ask your questions.
like, what do we think?
When you're ready. No, you don't.
No, you don't have to do your ritual.
Don't have to worry about it.
What are the ingredients in the food?
Okay. So let's see. There is flour, eggs, fruit.
Well, you can tell them what time. There's blueberries.
Yep.
There's cranberries. There's orange. There's milk, flour, water, and eggs.
Yep. That about does
Prepared
it.
for this. I'm your witness. I know about this. I have personal knowledge.
All right. Now, defense, you can ask a leading question.
Okay. Isn't it true that you guys baked it?
Yes.
Yes.
It is true.
I baked
It is
it.
baked.
Yes, it's baked.
That was
a good question.
Okay, the question was, isn't it true that you baked whatever is in there? And we answered, yes, we baked whatever is in there. Okay? Now it's your turn for direct. Oh, Tony's turn.
What is the shape of the food?
What is the
what a
shape
good
of
question.
food?
Well, I can say that there's individual servings, and each one is about this big, it's about this tall, and it's round. Okay? It's round, it's about this tall.
Individual servings.
Individual servings.
And see if it's very
No, you have to tell the world.
Tell the world.
Isn't it muffins?
It is a
All right, did you hear what he asked? He says, isn't it a muffin? And yes, it is a muffin.
An orange.
Yes. Okay, but hold on. Do you see how hard that was?
Yeah.
You knew nothing about what was in the box, and in a short amount of time, by asking questions, you had to figure out what was inside there. When we get there to court on the day of trial, the jury will not know who Todd is. They will not know what happened. They will know nothing. It's as if the case is in a box. And they will only come to find out what your questions reveal about what happened that day, okay? So that's why it's important to work on these, and we're going to do that more next week as well.